Jean Godfrey-June has been a defining voice in beauty journalism for over 2 decades, known for her irreverent, often poetic, personal, and honest take on makeup and skincare. She helped redefine beauty writing. During her time at Goop, Elle, and Lucky, she always followed her instincts and not the trends. Not only did she hold the title of beauty director at Goop magazine, but she also, during the golden era of print, was a beauty editor at Elle and Lucky magazine, one of my personal favorites.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, I love that. I love that during that written era, it was the beauty editors that held all the power, all of the influence. Like, one word from you makes or breaks a product. And I think that's so interesting, especially for all the social platforms now, social media platforms. It was very different. So beauty trends were literally born at desks of people like you. So welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, it was less democratic back then. I would say.
That's for sure.
Or there was a smaller democracy that was, I don't know what you would call them.
Yes. And in addition to being a beauty editor, you also wrote the book, Free Gift with Purchase, My Improbable Career in Magazines and Makeup, which the New York Times described as a witty confectionery memoir, which I'm sure you've heard a lot. And it is that, but it's so much more than that, which we're going to get into soon. You live outside New York City, and just for perspective, you are my first cousin on my mother's side, and we are so proud of you and always have been for a while, and we are so happy that you're here. So it's not often that we have the inner reflections of somebody as visible as you. If we're interviewing you, we have some of your thoughts. What I'd like to do is explore these ideas deeper through some of the stories in your book and the small vignettes that are in the book.
Oh, cool.
That stood out to both of us.
Yes.
Ooh. So I read the book when it came out, but now I reread it with these years of being a facial plastic surgeon and from that perspective. And I noticed a lot more small pearls that I really didn't notice before, thoughts that are suddenly much more profound to me than they were, I guess, before. And so I kind of want to get your take on some of these and kind of what you think now about these versus when you wrote the book. Your writing is so unique. I mean, obviously you're a great writer. You're really easy to read and follow. And we, enjoy, over and over reading your stories. Do you remember why you wanted when you wanted to express your writing through beauty? So like for me, reading your book, I noticed this story of, well, I call it the transformation story, the story between junior high school and high school.
Yes, so good. So good.
And I don't know, do you want to tell the story?
Yeah, well, in junior high, I was like just a total loser. My parents were getting divorced. It was, it was a really difficult time, probably, one of the most difficult times in my life. And, I had 2 friends. One of them was really mean to me. So it was just like a terrible time. And I had a friend, and he was popular in junior high. He lived in Kansas. And he was like, Jean, you should try to be popular. It's way more fun.
As if there's a choice.
Yeah. And so I had the idea. I came back to Palo Alto where I was growing up for the fall. And I said to one of the friends, I was like, let's just pretend to be new. I think I came out of my depression somewhat, and I started dressing like but when I was really having a hard time, I was wearing like huge T-shirts and boys' jeans and not focusing.
So to me, there was like a new confidence, and then suddenly the world was like interacting with you in a different way. So like you were making teams or, cheerleading teams or student council that you hadn't been involved in before. Like the way people perceived you was different with this new confidence.
Yeah, it was like, oh, I could just, we all have different aspects of ourselves, We all have, some terrible loser, and we also have some confident aspect of ourselves, I think. And whatever sort of helps you bring the confident part out, you're going to be happier.
I think that one of the coolest things, the most fascinating things about you is your career trajectory, given your upbringing. you have these scientist parents, and like you're like the tomboy, and then suddenly you're in this beauty closet, which is like living the dream, which we will revisit the beauty closet because I'm very interested in that. But what do you think? Like, I mean, I know that you kind of fell into, so to speak, writing about beauty, but do you think that tomboy, like that upbringing, being outside all the time camping, I feel like you have such a refreshing way of writing. Do you think that gave you like a unique perspective as a beauty writer? Because I mean, I was into beauty products all growing up. You, it sounds like, were not at all.
I wasn't into them, except that like a lot of people aren't into beauty products, except that they want to look better. I'd be in high school and have breakouts, and there's the aspect of like, I'm going to use concealer to cover up my breakout. That's one part of beauty, is like correction.
Like 90% of my beauty. But.
Yeah, but then there's the part of like, I'm going to a dance and I'm going to like put on this eyeliner. It's magic. I'm going to be somebody new, and those are two different aspects of beauty. You make a change and you feel like you could be someone slightly different, or you bring out a different aspect of yourself. And then there's also the you, but better, I want to have, smoother skin.
We were talking about how we both role played a lot. So like when I was younger, we would go to my grandmother's house and we would put on her black wigs and high heels. And every single Sunday we would do this over and over. And you did a lot of
I have two sisters. All we did
we're
was
thinking you probably didn't do that as much
I didn't get that so much. Although my mom, because my mom is like the ultimate tomboy. Like she is in her 80s. She is backpacking. I remember I was sort of foreign to her because like I liked dresses and lacy underwear and dolls. And, she was just kind of like, where did that come from? What is that? But she'd go along with it, and she'd like sew me a dress and have the same fabric, make a dress for my doll. And I'd be like, so she saw me, but she was like confounded by me. She isn't somebody who like jumps all over all the beauty products and wants to try them. But like anybody, even people, I remember I once interviewed Fran Lebowitz, and she was like, well, I don't use any beauty products. And I was like, oh, fair enough. And she's like, and then I was like, what about like shampoo? And she was like, oh, I have like 6 different kinds of shampoo, because if you use, one over and over too many times, it stops working. So even people who think they have no relation to beauty still do. It's still something that kind of connects us, I think.
Which I love. And you say that. I've read a couple of interviews that you wrote. I think that's really true. It doesn't, and that's why we'll go on that later, but that's why I loved Lucky. I was a huge Lucky fan, definite Lucky subscriber, tearing pages out, just like living my best life with Lucky. One of the things you pointed out when you're talking about this is I think it was in your book that you said, when you look in your closet, in your bathroom cabinet, you tend to find clusters of hoarding of things that speak to the deep-seated insecurities you have. For me, it's eye cream. I have, I kid you not, at any point in time, 12 different eye creams. I'm not joking. Tata Harper, the La Mer, the drugstore, CeraVe. I'm doing all that. But I think it's funny because, you are writing to find like the joy, the making it happy makeup. When we know it's a billion-dollar industry, multi-billion-dollar industry, that's really feeding on our insecurities, right? Like, it's such a paradox. How is it, like, you're making it happy? Do you understand what I'm saying? You're making it happy.
Yes, I do. I think, we're all human beings. The world is beautiful. We're beautiful. But we're all vulnerable, no matter who we are, we're vulnerable, and we're worried that, we need the other humans, or that's just like built into us. And there's something about beauty, that certainly the part of the fear that drives the industry of like, oh, you're going to look bad unless you do XYZ. You need this concealer, or you need, but
that's me.
There's that aspect for sure. But also, part of wanting to be beautiful or try something new is wanting to connect with other people, and wanting to feel soothed, that vulnerability that you feel, to feel like I can take care of myself a little, I can do something about who I am and how I am in the world. And that, it's a balance. You know, the beauty industry is an industry and it just wants to make money and
Right.
it's gonna
and the same in my field, you
Yeah.
know, the same
Yeah.
same issues in my field as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that is, I mean, for me it's hair. So I mean, I basically have
Hair.
access to all the skin products I would ever want or need, but because I've been pretty satisfied with my skin, I don't need them or use them.
Yeah.
But then I opened up my closet, tons of hair products came out because I haven't gotten the haircut that changed my life. But we'll get to that at another
Yes,
point.
we will. We will.
So like, and even if a patient mentions the name, mentions a new hair product, I will run out and buy it. It's
Good. That makes me feel better that you do that because I am the queen of that.
And it is true. It really, whatever is in your bathroom is where your insecurities
You can look
lie.
at mine.
true. But I will say about hair, I was at 17 magazine for a short
Gosh,
stint.
you really did it.
And it was a short couple of months, but it was during that time they did a survey, and 17 was at least I think 100 years old, and they did a survey of their best-selling covers, and they could only find one commonality between the best-selling covers, and that was that it had the word hair on it. So hair is primal.
Crazy.
There is.
I mean, everyone's got their things, right? It's like you said, everyone's got their
Yeah.
vulnerabilities.
And certainly at Lucky, like, you know, I worked on the cover lines were very important. You know, they determined whether people would pick up the magazine or not. And we tested them exhaustively. And number 2 word after free was hair.
Really?
Yeah, hair is primal.
Crazy?
Yeah. I can relate to
I
that
cannot
myself.
relate. I wanted it to be eyes.
Okay. I want to get back to your writing style, and it's often said that your writing is emotional, not like dramatic, but just that you impart emotion into a lot of these products. And I thought one great example of this was on my book, page 34, Why Beauty Products Are the Best Presents. And I was wondering if you could just read that.
Oh, you want me to read it aloud?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, okay. Okay, why beauty products are the best presents. I still believe this. They're personal, but not too much so. Cucumber mint shower gel, what's not to like and who's not to like it? And number 2, the person thinks of you every time he or she uses them, which in many cases, if it's a great beauty product, it turns out to be quite often. I've also always been a big proponent of giving a man you have a crush on either a shampoo or shaving cream. Not only will he be reminded of you every day, but it'll be at a time when he's a little dreamy, potentially more impressionable, and perhaps most critically, naked.
That's so good. It's so good.
So to me, like, instead of just seeing a list of 5 products that the influencers, listing for you that they're probably getting sponsored for, you're explaining why these would be great gifts and what it means to us as the giver of the gifts, and potentially how the receiver is going to feel about these gifts. So there's so much more help behind that advice than just a simple list. And to me, it's such a great example of your unique style of writing. So even though it's a simple little passage, it's just packed full of good information.
It is. All the little boxes, especially, I loved. I loved this. I really enjoyed reading it. So one of the funniest stories in the book, in my opinion, well, first of all, I love that you named people. Fashionista, Above the Fray. I really thought that gave me a huge kick. And one of the funniest stories, and Hannah and I, we both laughed about it, is when you were talking about, you walked in and your assistant was like, Jane, oh my God. Fashionista walked in and she demanded hairspray and she grabbed the mousse and she sprayed it. I'm going to get fired. And you pointed out, which, I mean, I guess I should have known, you're an extremely highly competitive, definitely a hierarchy here.
Mm-hmm.
But you were like, don't worry about it. You are basically an underling. You're not even seen. You won't get fired. So
You'll never remember what you look like.
Exactly, which is hysterical, but true. I get it.
True.
Which immediately brings Miranda Priestley and like Devil Wears Prada vibes, which I loved that movie. Can you describe a little bit about working in that environment that was, I mean, that's incredibly, you just came right out and said it, which I love. Mm-hmm. I feel like now we're at a time where you couldn't really say that you're above someone or below, but that was the time when it was what it was.
Yeah, and Miranda Priestley is obviously modeled after Anna Wintour, who I worked with directly for quite some time during Lucky. Yeah. After this book was published, I was still at Lucky. And she's the editorial director of Condé Nast now. And sort of when she was making the move from just being the editor of Vogue to doing all the magazine she started with was Lucky. And so I was there and we worked pretty extensively with her. And what I will say about hierarchy, because she definitely is lives in that world, is it's really clear. I've worked at places where people aren't so, people, want to have everything be sort of like everyone's on the same level or something. And when you understand who does what, things are more efficient. And with Anna specifically, she was incredibly decisive. And so you learned what she liked and then you made that, it certainly was a much better experience than I've had other bosses and superiors who didn't know what they wanted. And you're like, how about this? How about that?
Mm-hmm.
So, people can sort of be like, oh, those fashion people, they're so mean. And they can be horribly mean. And it's kind of funny. It's quaint. Obviously that era is over for them. But they were all such visual people, and kind of inspiring. And, I don't know. It wasn't unpleasant to work in.
That's nice. I was going to tell a brief story about my brush with the fashion world, beauty funny. World, but and jeans involved. And I don't know if I told you this, but I went to New York City with my husband, then boyfriend, and we were meeting up with a bunch of boys from his high school class. So a bunch of boys who grew up from Kansas. And so, they were all together and I was just over talking to one of the girlfriends. Yeah. And, she was polite, but, disinterested, talking to me, a girl from Vermont who's dating a boy from Kansas. Is like not super NYC glamour, Anyway, then it came out that, she worked at Elle. She dropped the Elle. Oh. And I said, do you know my cousin, Jean Godfrey-June? And it was like night and day. All of a sudden, God. I was like,
you're famous. You are famous. I mean, there it is.
VIP status. And she just went on and on about how great you were and how beautiful you were and how you wore your pregnancy clothes so well and they weren't even maternity clothes and just on and on and on. And I was finally getting the respect I deserved.
Oh my God.
Awesome. I felt like I just got a touch of what that assistant felt with
the underling,
the
unseen,
the unseen to the seen. Yes. And so anyway, I do think that, it probably does exist. It exists everywhere. It exists in medicine as well. But it was just so funny how quickly things changed.
Well, it was funny in magazine hierarchy, in all of them, beauty is like a necessary evil. It's kind of boring and it makes all the money, but fashion is the glamorous thing. Mm-hmm. And so as the beauty editor, you're a little more under the radar and people aren't like out to fire you so quickly. As like fashion editors are always on the line. Like it's part of the reason they can be so mean is because they're so stressed out. Yeah. So I was also sort of like in a weird, I was not the star, in a certain way that kept me able to keep my job.
I think it's really interesting. Like I said, huge fan of Lucky. Mm-hmm. You're writing from Elle to Lucky. That two such different magazines. I know that because Elle was sort of like I wish I could be Kate Moss. And then Lucky's like maybe there's an outside chance I could look cool.
I could look like this. Yes.
You know what I mean? Can you talk a little bit about the change, how your writing had to kind of transition, kind of change from Elle to Lucky?
One thing that was different was that Lucky, everything was short. We were trying to capture the immediacy of the internet. It was just starting. At Lucky, it was about It was definitely about sort of getting things done in a shorter space. And
I mean, I don't know if people realize what a huge change that was and how that continued on to the .coms during that time. But like, I mean, I remember looking at a coat that I just loved in a magazine, and I still have it in my head. I've been looking for it for like 45 years.
Can we help you?
And I never found it. But like the idea that you could look at something and say, okay, I can go get that makeup, or I can go to J. Crew and get that t-shirt.
It seemed more relatable. Like,
but it was a position shift from what we had done before, what the industry had done before.
It was a white space that like the industry, the fashion industry, the magazine industry, the beauty industry didn't see. And like the first year when Lucky started, you know, no one would advertise. They were like, this is a catalog. I don't know what, you know, this is very not fancy. We're not doing this. And then, you know, it was very gratifying. The second year we were like,
I'm sure it was,
you know, because people just bought it. They loved
the stories that you told about like mentioning a lipstick and then it immediately being sold out. And
I
like,
remember
the
that.
Gucci watch, you know, you had a Timex that you just put a ribbon that looked like Gucci on, and like, so the Gucci was inundated with phone calls.
That
was the first time that had really happened before the internet. You know,
like the blue Lancome eyeliner. Remember the blue Lancome eyeliner? It was like a light blue. It looked terrible with my blue eyes. I was buying like 4 of those because it would sell out.
Yeah,
you would see the whatever it was, and you'd go and you'd sell it out. A little sidebar here. Did you have to try the beauty products? That's like living my favorite dream in the world. Like, how did you research that? Let's say they say to you, Jean, write about this. Are you the one doing the actual like research on that? How does that work when you're writing?
Well, nobody's saying you must write about this.
Okay.
You know, that
it's your choice.
Yeah. I was the editor, so I'm picking what's being featured. And back in the day, there were advertisers, and so you'd have like, you know, Chanel's a big advertiser. There's lots to love in Chanel. So if there's one product I don't like, I'm not going to write about that one. I'm going to write about the one I like.
But can I just take a moment to explain? I visited you at Lucky, and so she's in this office basically with 2 or 3 people unpacking boxes of products, and then almost like a supermarket conveyor belt, and they're putting the products in on one side, and then she kind of looks at them and puts them off on the other side after she's examined the packaging, the texture, the whatever it is you're looking at. I mean, it's a scene.
I would love to have been there.
It's the same thing as shopping. Like it's you there's a bunch of things and you're gonna look at them, and like one of the reasons you pick something up is because it looks beautiful. Another reason is because it's giving you a promise, like it's better than Botox, you know, like I'm gonna look, what is that? You know, it had like the package is incredible, you know, it's like it's very, you're like, oh, what is that thing? You know? So the reason that something catches your eye is kind of the same reason that it would catch a shopper's eye. You know, if there's some boring cream, you're like, oh, you know, I'm not going to try that.
Right.
No, I'm not. Like it's not promising me anything. I don't see a package. A dermatologist or a plastic surgeon hasn't said it's amazing. You know, like there's reasons. There's lots of sort of like blah things, and then something catches your eye for some reason, and then you investigate, and you either fall in love. You love how it smells. You love how it feels. You love how it makes you look. So yeah, I did. You couldn't possibly try everything. Try the things that interest you. Just like a shopper does, you know?
Yeah.
Ooh, I would love to have been a shopper in your office. I think that is like literally, I love writing. I read this and I think it's just an amazing career and just, like I said, just so much fun that you get to do.
And there's so many different interesting aspects to it. So like, obviously you're just so into like the products.
I'm so into the products.
And I am interested in like the mystery behind beauty and all that. So I wanted to get into the idea that's kind of towards the beginning of your book about just the thought of you envy the way someone looks and maybe their clothes, but it's more than that. You actually at a time want to be somebody else. So like I was talking to Amy about this, and it was, we both have like distinct memories of wanting to be somebody else, like as a teenager, and
A real person,
a real
Yeah,
person,
a real
like
person.
a
Yes.
person in real
Yes.
life. Like, and I remember, well, I asked my husband and he didn't know what I was talking about, but yet we remember the people we wanted to be.
I do. I know her first and last name.
So it seems to be a little bit more of a girl thing, but definitely, like a common thing. And just like interested in somebody else's essence, like trying on different personalities and seeing kind of like what fits you because you're going through that phase. And I was wondering if you thought that beauty products kind of also fit that role. Like you can play a part with a beauty product and try it out and see if that fits your personality. I remember being in a car dropping off a girl, like my sister was driving and she got out and I was like, oh my gosh, to be her type of thing. And my sister, who, wise, said, oh, but then, I wouldn't have, we wouldn't have our skin. And I just love our skin. It's like, yeah, there's something about you that you do love and it pulls you back into your own identity. But for a moment, there's this like mystery fantasy moment about like letting your mind go like down the road of like, what if I actually was that person?
It is. And I think products really do play into that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
There's just especially if that person, God forbid, wear something that you're thinking about, the blue Lancome eyeliner or the blue mascara that went along with it. These were just terrible fashion trends, but you'd see that. And that's part of what makeup does. It kind of gives you that hope, that fantasy that maybe you might look like, I don't know. I still think it does that. There are still moments when I'm like sitting in a makeup chair, which I love to do. Love to go somewhere. Like my sisters and I will go shopping and it's like 4:00, let's get a drink and then walk over to the makeup section and we'll sit down and you just have this, you're wondering if you're just going to look completely different. Like, might you have to wear a name tag that night?
And the funny thing is that younger people don't like makeovers like we do.
I do.
We think that someone else is going to draw this out of us, but they like to order stuff online and play around with it on their own or watch their video and practice on their own.
Makeup chair. I love being in the makeup chair. It is. It's like my favorite.
I mean, a great makeup artist or great hairstylist or a great plastic surgeon. I think that what that person can do,
yes,
is see what's beautiful in you and bring that out.
That really spoke to me. Is you said a good makeup artist isn't trying to cover something, say this is terrible. They're trying to find that amazing trait, that really good feature, and bring that out. It's not that, oh, you're broken, I have to fix you. It's unveiling something or making something less noticeable so something else is highlighted.
Yeah.
Which leads me into the haircut that changed my life. And I laughed because I realized there was a whole chapter on the haircut that changed my life. And this, I always knew about this in my family. It's something we talk about, but it's just funny. But this is the day that Jean went to a famous hairdresser. And
Sally Hirschberger. I still go to her.
Okay,
Really?
and she convinced you to embrace your natural curls, but also gave you the cut to be able to do that. To me, it changed you forever. It like just let go of a lot of other stuff, and it changed like almost your image. And I've always been so jealous of that haircut. And I thought, okay, how can I get that haircut? Like,
go to Sally.
Where would I possibly find a hairdresser who could do that for me? Like finding a hairdresser who really understands me and my hair and can give me that kind of transformation. And, but I do think about that being a facial plastic surgeon, like with my appointments, with my patients, it's like, how can I give them that experience that you had with that hairdresser? Like that major experience where they walked away feeling like, oh my gosh, she really saw me and she got me and she got me.
Like I robbed a bank. That's how I feel when I go to Hannah and she like does like skin leave or whatever. And like, I robbed a bank.
Or at least I put the energy of that visit behind that encounter I have with the patient, even if I'm not successful or they don't see it, but that, we try I'm trying for that moment. Isn't that crazy? It's such
it's the best possible goal. I love that you do that.
Yeah, but like, isn't it funny that it came from like your?
It does. It is. Now that's funny.
It is funny, but I still go to Sally.
Well, why would you not?
And it's so funny because again, I told my husband, there's a lot of things my husband doesn't understand about me, but I was explaining this story and he just was like so confused.
There is something about seeing people and not going, here's what you need, but instead like you take some part of them in and really sort of go, okay, what's beautiful? What am I gonna show the world that's already there? But that
for their personality,
so
for their style, for the features, for the anatomy they have, how are we going to bring that out to be the most unique and beautiful?
And that's a big parallel between you guys.
I think that's a big parallel.
I do too. Okay, so I'm a huge Bobbi Brown fan. I love the Foundation. I love the Miracle Bomb. I love Jones Road.
Jones Road is amazing.
It's amazing. And she's amazing. I geek out on her Instagram thing, watching her do all the stuff. So obviously you admire her a lot. And I loved reading that about her just because I've used her products forever. And the Jones Road thing, it's like all we talk about, like the fitness place where I work, they'll say, what are your 3 favorite things? And I feel like we should get a kickback because we put them in and it goes out to all these people and people are like, oh my gosh, what color Miracle Bomb do you use? What's that? But yeah, I just love this. But I feel like, what do you think it is about her? Because there's been Lanca's been around forever, lots of different things. What do you think it is about her that's kept her so relevant? Like, how is she reinventing? I mean, and how does she possibly make a makeup line that's targeted for more mature women without sounding like a total ass, without saying you're old, use this makeup? Like,
yeah, well, I mean, she has a lot of very young users also, because it's cool. I mean, her secret is kind of like she's herself. She isn't, when a bigger beauty companies, they're like, we need, 5 SKUs in this category and 7 SKUs in that category. And we did a focus group and people want this, it's industry. And, vision is just human vision when it's good is just better than, sort of a industrial marketing.
Yeah. Authenticity.
Yeah.
And she's authentic and she's very present. Yeah. Well, she has a really powerful vision. And I feel like people with a powerful vision, I mean, that's probably the only thing that'll be left after AI can, do everything else. There'll still be this like weird human quality.
Well,
some people are really able to harness and share with other people.
You have a lot like that, it's kind of like people can't come in and say, make me look like Christy Brinkley, people, and you can, she doesn't try to say to make you not old. She's like, here's where we are. Let's make you the most beautiful you can be, which is that's your job.
So,
that's what you do.
Jean, in your book, you went through your facial plastic section, your Botox, fillers, and collagen. And I thought it was so funny that you used the term collagen because nobody even knows what that is anymore.
I know.
and it was the number one search word when I started.
Of course,
and now no one knows what it is. Yeah.
It's like hair collagen.
But you have 2 really, really good pearls in the section after this. But after you went through all of that, you have this quote: the most important thing about all of it is that even if your anti-aging strategy actually succeeds in making you look younger, you will still look like you, just younger. And if you're dissatisfied with that to begin with, you're not going to be any happier. So if these are pearls I wish I knew when I started, because then I would see the perspective that my patients were walking in the door with. But I had one patient in particular who was maybe mid-40s. I was younger at the time. Yeah. And she wanted some anti-aging treatments, volumization and skin treatments, non-surgical stuff. And she was really unsatisfied. It took me a while to realize that there was such a huge disconnect between where she thought she was and the aging and compared to celebrities and models. Yeah. So she kept saying like, what is, this is going to age me now, but what is Christy Brinkley doing?
See,
that
that's me. I don't
you know,
She's
that-
gorgeous.
and you know, that I'm not doing. And she wasn't unhappy with the treatments themselves. It was actually with just her own feeling like she never measured up, even when she was younger. So how are you going to measure up? And just how, just the thought of how we, as communicators and practitioners, like how we reset, recalibrate what beauty is in our culture that really glorifies just like the top 0.0001%. I mean,
under the age of 25 too.
Are so beautiful genetically. That's why they're celebrities.
Yeah.
Then they're edited and everything on top of that. And it's funny because I'm thinking, okay, a 41-year-old can't, or, you know, should be past comparing herself to a celebrity. But that's where we were, you know?
Yeah. And still are. It's very, you know, we live in a capitalist society, and that, you know, that runs on dissatisfaction, you know, and so people have to, you know, if they feel dissatisfied with themselves, they'll buy all sorts of things, not just beauty products. You know, some people are much more vulnerable to feeling that way. You know, there's certainly a way. I always, if you look at a celebrity who looks like you,
if there is one, I haven't found one yet.
But like, who has an aspect of you know, you could be like Kristen Bell. You look like Kristen. You know, like there's celebrities who, you know, you find an aspect of something about them, and that can make you feel better. You know, I remember when Sally was first cutting my hair, and she was like, "Why do you blow dry your hair? You have these Giselle, you know, curls." And I was like, "Oh, yes, I have Giselle curls. Yeah. Great." You know, I mean, I didn't suddenly have Giselle's body and her face,
right?
But it made me feel better rather than worse. And so
it's a positive thing rather than looking at it as a negative thing, like turning it into a positive. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there is that you can look at beautiful people and be like, there's something that I have that I share with them. The one thing about the youth thing is, and I'm sure you get this all the time, is, you know, like 25-year-olds will literally be like, okay, so I you know, when do I start Botox? Yeah. And I'm always like, you know, you have to enjoy being young. Yeah. You have to be like, my God, my skin is gorgeous.
You can't do that until you're older and you look back at your pictures.
You can't. Well, actually, you used to be able to do it more so. Now you don't have a chance with like social media.
Yeah, but like my mom used to say, like every big birthday that I'd have, she'd say, "Oh my God, you know what I'd give to be 40? My God, I looked so good then. I felt so good, you know." And I'd be like, "What? Don't you wish to be 25 or something?" You know. But now looking back, you look back at yourself and you're like, "My God, look at my skin. It's incredible. Why was I beating up on myself and wondering what was wrong?" And you can't explain it to a person, but
you can't understand it until it's like so many things in life. You can't learn it until you go through it.
Yeah. And then that's a sad truth.
And then you can't pass it on to anybody. No. You have to go through it yourself.
I try to pass it on to my sisters, and I'll say things like, "You don't need to do that. You look beautiful. You're blah, blah." And my sisters are like, "Shut up. You bitch about it all the time too." I'm like, I'm trying to make you better than me. But it is a lesson that has to be like, you have to live in your body and have the lesson.
Right after we had kids, my friend and I, who I worked with, we were like, we wanted to ask, because we did fitness as well. And we wanted to ask all the top trainers, like, what's the least amount you can do and stay the same? You know, like, I loved that. I don't want like Giselle's body. I want my body now. And and they hated like having to answer that. It was not a question that is appealing. And they finally, the answer was, you need to really work out twice a week.
That's just what they came to, because they had to come to that. Like, Hannah has tell the story about your patient, because I feel like this is the same way. Your beautiful patient.
So I had a patient come in, younger patient, probably, I don't know, maybe early 30s, late 20s, early 30s. First, she was just a beautiful, beautiful woman with like beautiful skin. I was in awe really of her beauty. And I honestly kind of wanted to protect her. You know, I'm like, don't let anybody do anything to you right now. You know, just work on control your skincare and, you know, just go forward. Two things about that encounter. One is like, I actually was the person who said, you don't need anything. But
of course you were. No surprise. I love you.
But also, like, she never came back. So
maybe
she wanted, you know, like she still didn't feel like she got her money's worth out of the appointment because I didn't recommend starting something. So it's like kind of a two-way street, I guess, or a fine line. Like, and I was like, okay, well, I guess next time I should list what I think is important, but say you don't need to start that now. Let me see you back in a year. Be more like, instead of being like, you're perfect. Don't. You know, she was somehow dissatisfied with that answer.
I think that's the mark of like a real person that you can trust and that you should go to. Like I once went to Sally Hirschberger, like went all the way down, you know, to get my hair cut. And she like walks in and she's like, no, honey, I'm not doing it. She's like, it's good right now. You shouldn't cut it. And like, wouldn't do it, you know? And I was like, that's Sally. She knows, you know? Then obviously I kept going back to her because
you trusted her.
I trusted
I've given her, I've torn so many weird treatments out of that new beauty magazine. Have you seen it? It's like a catalog. I will go through there on the airplane and my husband's like, please stop. I'm just ripping pages out to show Hannah and I'll come in and give to her. She puts them in the trash. She's like, we're not doing that. That's not going to be. Okay. That's the mark of a good one. That's why we love you.
Yes. And that takes me into my second pearl that I got from Jean after her facial plastics section is the idea that the beautiful person has a secret that, if shared, would bestow beauty upon anyone is very, very compelling. So there's a myth in facial plastics that there's treatments in parts of the country or world that other doctors don't know about. So like particularly LA. So I have a colleague that I trained with in New York and we went and he's based in Beverly Hills and we have this joke about his classified treatments. The rest of us don't know, especially in the coming from the Midwest.
Yeah, Midwest.
Just the idea that somebody beautiful is doing something and if you could just do that, find out what that is and do it, it's going to change your life. And that is so compelling, whether it's products or it's all the way up to a surgery.
It's like a nugget of hope. It gives you hope that maybe, like a little fantasy.
Well, it's the idea that, I mean, you know, that there's some secret. Yeah, I think in dermatology and plastic surgery, there's so many treatments and popular, you know, like social media or whatever will cover, you know, this treatment and that treatment and this treatment and that treatment. And so nobody feels, even, you know, I as a beauty editor I don't feel like I know, I know all the lasers that you could possibly do and what their effects would be and all the, you know, so there is sort of this feeling like that there's this arsenal and, you know, that somehow if you knew the right one or if the practitioner liked you or thought you could afford it or, you know, whatever it was. But the beauty secret is just, it's like this cream is going to make me look like Kate Moss.
Right.
Do you think, okay, so let's weigh in on your opinion. I'm sure you've seen this Kris Jenner facelift. I've talked to Hannah about this, like that she is being, are we filtered? It is everywhere on my Instagram feed, probably because I like pressed on it once, but everyone is like, what has happened here? It's amazing. She's amazing. It's she's went to a doctor trained just like Hannah.
Yeah.
Got all the cool stuff done.
I should say, I don't know if he was general plastics or facial plastics.
Well, who cares? I don't even know the difference. It doesn't matter. That's like too medical. But like, you look at stuff like that and it doesn't make the doctor magical. It doesn't make her surgeon super magical
I do think
of course there's better ones.
Certain surgeons get different results.
Do you think there's anything magical she had when you're looking at that?
But when I look at her, when I look at the pictures that I've seen, I don't trust that they're not filtered.
Yeah, it looks like they might
take
not
on
be.
it. Some of her before pictures look like a lot of doctors after pictures. And I mean, like, I had a reel where there's one doctor who was just featured in People magazine for his facelifts, and his before and after came up, and then Kris Jenner's came up, and his after looked like Kris Jenner's before. And I'm thinking, there's no way.
What's happening? That's what I mean. I'm
so
just so
I
very
just
suspect.
feel like on the internet, social media, we just can't trust what we're seeing there. And
it's going to become less so.
Less so. Yes, less so.
Well, that's the problem, because then you've got people like younger children, like my niece, looking at that and thinking, oh gosh, I can look like that again. Not realistic.
Yeah, because
not
in
going to
the
happen.
old days, all we had to compare ourselves to were the models.
Thank God.
Now we have to compare ourselves to the models, the actresses, and all the regular people who are filtering themselves. It's like gotten so enlarged, the group that we're trying to aspire to, you know? It's grown.
It's definitely just, you know, the social media in general is just about generating dissatisfaction, and however that, you know, I always think of, they asked like food scientists that engineer, you know, chips and things like that, to what they thought of an orange, you know? And they were like, well, it's great. It tastes great, but the taste doesn't go away quickly enough. So you don't want another one, you know, and you also become full. And so you don't want another one. We would never make something like that.
Yeah.
And
I feel like social media is kind of analogous, you know, it without making you sort of dissatisfied, you don't need to keep looking. And reality doesn't do that in the same way.
There's so many things we want to talk to you about, but
I know.
my mind's going in like five different directions. But what some of my staff wanted me to bring up, which I think is such a good point, is, and this really comes back to me, when you were looking to get to the top beauty editor position,
Elle.
And the position opened up, and you had to ask, as opposed to just letting your work speak for itself. And I hate to like always throw in the woman card, but is it that we have to like defend ourselves and like angle for things because we can't just let our work show? And why we are bringing that up is all the women surgeons and derms, not all, but quite a few on Instagram or social media are filtering themselves. It's like I can't just show my work and say, just look at my beautiful work. I have to be beautiful too. And I have to be beautiful in a way that is not real. Whereas the male surgeons aren't doing any of that. We have to go above and beyond just our work. And that to me was a parallel to what you had to do when you were trying to apply for that job. Like you felt like they should be able to see your work and say, oh my gosh, she's amazing. She'd be perfect for this position.
Be perfect.
An obvious choice that they already know.
In general, being in the industry I've been in, it's dominated by women. And so at work, I've had less sort of trouble in that way. But even with other women, when you present your ideas, you have to be like, maybe if I don't know if this is a stupid idea or not, you know, like, you know, there's that, that men don't have to contend with. There is, that their work doesn't just stand on their own.
And maybe it is that that we're judging women that way too. I'm not saying that it's only men judging that, but for whatever in our society, we just have to go that extra step.
We have to go the extra step, and we have to balance between, are we seeming too intimidating, too too overconfident.
The Barbie movie. It's the Barbie movie speech again.
Definitely.
They make in the Barbie movie. I mean, it's hilarious. Do you know what I'm talking about? You don't? Yes, you do. we got to update her on some things. It's exactly what Jean's saying. It is. It's you want to be confident, but not too confident. You want to be pretty, but not too pretty. You want to be the
and the idea that somehow you as a as a surgeon would have to. What would they? I mean, wouldn't it be unnerving if, like, you were Christy Brinkley? I don't know. Like, it's like what would.
It seems to translate, though, that people are expecting you, just like everything, they expect you to look like you don't have a full-time job. You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly.
All the time.
Well, I did have the experience. Dr. Frederick Brandt was like this. He was sort of the world's leading dermatologist for a long time, and he died. But he looked funny. He had either had some kind of plastic surgery that wasn't right. He was also always trying stuff, but his results, like what he did on people, they looked incredible. And I remember people would demand that I help them get an appointment with him, and I would. And then I'd get these like frantic calls from the office. Oh my God, is he going to make me look like that? So it did happen to him.
Oh, that's true. That makes us feel better.
Anyway, well, again, Jean, thank you so much for letting us talk with you. I mean, the book is just, it's so fun to go through it. Obviously, it's personal for me, but
it's not personal for me, and I loved it.
I know we both loved it, but we're both from that time where these guys don't even know what we're talking about with the magazines. And so it's fun to share it with somebody who went through it, because it's a time that is gone, you know, and
it is. Power wielding is over, sadly.
Definitely.
Boy, girl, you had it there for a while. I mean, it was it. Products run out. They do I think it's amazing. You had an awesome career. Keep on trucking.
Thank you.
And we're so excited to hear what you do next.